Hey, everybody.
Hey.
Welcome to #PastorBesties. That's Melissa.
That's Nicole.
And today we are talking about one of my favorite things in the church.
These are a few of my favorite things. This should be in that song.
Totally should. Communion.
Communion. It's one of two sacraments in the United Methodist Church, and we're talking about it today.
On #PastorBesties. Communion.
So some people know it by different names. They know it by communion or Eucharist or the Lord's Supper.
Yes.
It's known by different names. And if you're United Methodist in particular.
That's right.
Which we are. There's a book called This Holy Mystery, or it's a document that you should really know about.
It should be required reading.
I think it is in seminaries now.
Yeah.
I hope so. If not, seminaries, get it together. All of you.
Right, all of you. All of the seminaries.
All of them. So it talks about the theology of communion. It talks about our practice of communion.
Yes.
So you should get it.
Can you Google it? Like, can you find it, like, online?
I'm sure you can. Like, just Google it and then order it from Amazon. Cokesbury? Order it from Cokesbury.
Order it from Cokesbury.
Order it from Cokesbury.
Because when you buy from Cokesbury, you're helping contribute to the pension of clergy.
Right.
So that
That's
when we're
us.
old, we can be like, hey, thanks for all those holy mysteries that you ordered. Now I can afford my medicine.
Get off my lawn or I'm going to serve you communion. What?
That's what retired pastors do. They force communion on vagrants in their lawn.
Don't go to the pastor's house. They're going to serve you communion.
It's Hawaiian bread, though, so it's definitely
Delicious.
worth it.
Go. You run.
Just go.
Just go.
Find a retired clergy right now. Okay, back on topic.
All right.
Do you remember the first time you took communion?
I really don't. I just remember, I just always remember it being part of my my experience and my tradition in church. So no,
That's actually kind of a beautiful thing, though. Mm-hmm. Like, you always remember it being a part of your church experience.
Yeah.
When I was in third grade, I asked my mom if I could take communion. We had just learned about it in Sunday school. She said no. She said that I wasn't old enough and that she wanted me to go through confirmation. So I then proceeded to tell her exactly what communion meant, and I was spot on. As a third grader, she still said no. She was like, that's right, but no, you can't. So then I had to wait until I was in 7th grade, and I went through confirmation, but because I waited, I remember every single moment. I remember what I was wearing. I remember where I was kneeling in my church. I remember what it tasted like. I was so excited to take communion. It was a holy moment. Oh, it was such a holy moment. And I have to say, and I know not everybody feels this way, but every time that I've taken communion since then has been a holy moment for me.
Yeah.
I know not everybody feels that way. Some people think like it just becomes like ritualistic and you just do it when you do it, but not for me. And I don't know why, but for me it is always a holy moment. And I love that about communion.
I mean, I think even if it becomes ritualistic and it's a ritual, like rituals are important for reasons.
Right.
And the actual touching of the bread and the tasting of the bread and the tasting of the juice or the wine. I mean, there's something so holy in that, and even though it may become commonplace or a ritual, there's still something. Rituals still have meaning, and
They do.
I mean,
taste and see that the Lord is good,
absolutely.
right?
I say that almost every Sunday. And there's also, like, can we be honest for a second about
Whenever are we not?
That's fair.
Okay.
There's some breads that taste better than others.
Yeah, Hawaiian bread.
You should use Hawaiian bread as
I
much
feel
as
like
possible.
we should, like, as a Methodist church, officially endorse Hawaiian bread communion.
That's such a good idea.
Like,
it's a great idea. It's
they
delicious.
should sponsor our communion.
It's delicious.
King's Hawaiian communion.
So sometimes the leftover King's Hawaiian bread, especially like on Easter or like on Christmas Eve, I'll bring it to my family for like our dinners, and my brother is weirded out. Like, he's like, can I dip this in the spinach dip now? Because it's like Jesus, right? Taste and see that God is delicious.
Do it. He is delicious.
So,
You're having wine.
yeah.
You know what I don't like? Cheez-Its. You know what Cheez-Its are? Those like wafers, like the wafers that like get stuck in your teeth. I call those Cheez-Its.
Cheez-Its?
Yeah.
Cheez-Its.
Like Cheez-Its, but
I don't
Cheez-Its.
I don't like the communion to-goes.
Oh.
Where it's like the cup and the bread together.
No, that juice tastes weird. Also, Welch's. Can we talk about, I feel like it has to be Welch's grape juice.
Well, because Welch was a Methodist.
And he created grape juice for communion.
It's not just a story we made up, kids.
No, that's for real.
That's real.
Google it.
Google.
You can Google that.
Yeah, you can Google everything. Be careful what you Google.
That's just good advice.
It's life advice. So communion, so not just your first communion, but when you were ordained, most conferences will serve communion.
Yes.
I think it's a part of the ordinal. I think it's a part of what we do.
It's amazing. Yeah.
So do you remember serving communion?
Yes, I served with a friend that I was ordained with, and your family comes through the line, and you're already like so emotional because you've just been ordained.
Yeah.
You've been working for it for years, and so the emotions are like way off the charts. So I'm weeping already. And my family comes through, and I'm weeping even more. And then the pastor who baptized me came through my line. And he's this sweet old man, and I could just see in his eyes, like his eyes were teary. I was already weeping. I started sobbing like into the juice cup. It was just an amazing moment. It was an amazing moment.
Oh, yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, I danced throughout my whole ordination. Like
I'm not even surprised by that, but I wish I could have like observed
it. Oh my gosh, I'll show you the video.
Oh, great.
Yeah, I was constantly moving. I was constantly dancing because I was just so excited, so happy. Like even the bishop pointed out, he was like, "You're dancing all the time." I'm like, "Yeah." So during communion, even I was dancing as I was like serving.
I love it.
I think what I remember is my family coming through the line, and my brother saying to me as he took communion, he was like, "I took it twice. Is that okay?" Yeah, it's fine. As often as you can.
That's right. That's John Wesley.
Yeah,
take it as often as you can. Oh, I like to take that to heart. So that was the first time that we served after we're ordained, but do you remember the first time you consecrated? Because I have a great story about this.
Yeah. I don't remember, like, super specific. I remember being emotional. I remember it was the first time I had worn my stole in worship. And so I remember it just being, like, I remember it being extra emotional.
Oh, it totally is. I was at camp. We were headed down to camp, and I serve there every summer. And so before camp starts, we have like a gathering of all the adult volunteers, and we talk through everything that we need to know, and then we end with like a little devotional and communion. And so I get to that point, and I say, where are the elements? And the program director was like, I thought you were getting them. And I was like, I thought you were getting them. I'm like, okay. Well, what do we have? So we're in this like cabin, and we're looking around, and somebody was like, well, I got a can of Pringles, like teasing, and I'm like, okay, we're doing this because we are going to take communion to start this camp off. Like, it just was important. So I looked around and found us a can of Pepsi. And, it was an amazing moment to teach about it. Jesus used what he had. Bread and wine that was available at every meal. He used what was commonplace, and what's more commonplace today than chips and soda, right? Or pop, since we're up north. So it was like kind of a great opportunity to have communion outside of the norm, to have it be a teaching moment. And I mean, it seemed silly, but it really was a holy moment. Yeah. It was awesome. I loved it. I'll never forget it.
I think
Broke the Pringle. Body of Christ.
Crackle, crackle, crackle. I think that some of the times that I remember most with communion are the times that I was the most broken.
Yes.
I remember the communion that I consecrated the first Sunday after my best friend died. I mean, it was just like this. It was very emotional, and as I was struggling with what I believed about anything anyway, of just even in the midst of that, like I could still claim that there was something that was happening here.
Yeah.
Or I think the Sunday right after General Conference of 2012 that I came back and just sort of as I was breaking the bread, realizing that everyone gets to have a piece of this, whether we agree together or not, whether I like this person or not, that we all come to the same table. And there was just something that was so incredibly moving and healing and enormous about that. I mean, communion the table is the equalizer. We're all welcome at this table.
Everybody. That's the beauty.
Especially in the United Methodist Church, I make sure to say every Sunday when we receive communion that this table is an open table. You don't need to be a member of this church or of any church, that you seek to receive this grace of God.
It's God's table. It's God's table. So all are welcome.
Yeah.
I think that there have been times when I've consecrated communion and for some reason it just hit my heart, I like the enormity of the task that I have as a pastor, or the holiness of sharing bread and juice with this congregation. And I'll just start, you just start weeping, and there have been times where I've been sobbing through the liturgy because it's just overwhelming that Jesus loves us with such love.
And so then there's those moments at the table and in worship, and then there's also those Eucharistic moments, like those moments that they're not necessarily communion, it's not bread and juice, but they're Eucharistic moments. So my wine and pie nights, I feel, are Eucharistic.
Absolutely.
It's a community gathering together, sharing their joys and their sorrows, and eating pie and drinking wine.
Yeah, we used to do that in seminary. We would have a group, we called ourselves the Bacon Club, and we'd go out once a month and eat together, break bread together, and we would have bacon and coffee, and it was like our communion, and we would take it by intinction, and it wasn't that we blessed it or anything like that, but it was just the act of us being together in that time. It was Eucharistic. Absolutely was.
Yeah. So it's about, sometimes those Eucharistic moments are about a community coming together, eating together, being together, sharing together, coming to the same table together. And they're just as holy as the bread and the wine or the bread and the juice on Sunday morning.
Right. Communion. I love it.
Yeah.
Do you take communion weekly? We do once a month at my church. In fact, every church that I've served at has done, first Sunday of the month is kind of Methodist tradition, I guess.
We do communion every week. That was actually
I'm so jealous.
That was the one thing when I first came to this appointment, when we were talking about changes that might happen in worship, that everyone unilaterally said, don't stop serving communion every week. I was like, done.
I love that.
Yeah. So it's, I think that it not just for the congregation to experience it, but the structure of our worship service becomes around it. That it's not just something that gets shoved in, but this is a part of what we're doing together.
We do every week at my church have a little gathering of people that meet on non-communion Sundays to have communion together in a room before services start. And so, we still get to have that little holy moment together. It's really special to be able to do that, even just with a small group. I wish that we had a huge gathering in there, because to share communion is holy.
Yeah.
It's sharing the love and grace of God in such tangible ways.
Yes.
And that's the beauty of communion, because we can talk about God's love and grace, and sometimes it feels like an abstract thing, but when we have communion, when we have bread, when we have the juice, and we're tasting it and we're feeling it, like you said, it's God's grace and God's love right there in that moment.
It's an outward sign of an invisible inward grace. I'm pretty sure that's in the discipline. If it's not.
It totally is. That totally is. Oh my gosh, communion.
Yeah.
Go take communion. Just go take some.
Yeah. Just take it. Just take it.
The next time you take communion, just pause and soak it in. Enjoy that moment with Jesus and with the community around you, and just enjoy it.
Yes.
And then let us know about it.
Yeah. Share your stories about communion. Maybe you have a story about the first time that you remember receiving communion, or that you served communion, or...
we know you have good stories.
Everyone has a
story. So share them with us. We want to hear.
Use hashtag PastorBesties. Make sure you like and subscribe our video.
Yes.
Because you want to know when we're going to be on again, of course. because we are, what are we, Nicole?
Little lady pastors?
No, don't say that. We're adorable and hilarious.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Well, like and subscribe so that when we are old and retired and on the pensions that we're living off of because you bought from Cokesbury, we'll still be here.
That's right. That's right. So, may you be reminded of the grace of God, the grace that has claimed you from the beginning of time to the end of time, the grace that covers you, the grace that is with you always. May you taste and see that God is good.
Made me tear. Thank you, Melissa. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.